Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or it's 2 a.m. Go to bed already. This is Eagle Eyes on Tech. I am Eagle Falcon, joined once again with my partner in crime, Nikolai Sponikov, head of the KGB over in Canada. How are you doing, Regret the Van?
I am doing just fine. And if it is 2 a.m., well, I should be asleep by now, too. Or at work.
Honestly, I just couldn't help myself. We were getting new trucks at work, and every time I handed over the keys for test driving, I told the guy at the dealership, don't worry, I didn't crash it, but if the cops come looking for Nikolai Sponikov, head of the opiate cartel, you didn't see me.
How many eyebrows were raised?
Oh, none. They just got a chuckle out of it.
Okay.
That's the beauty of a good joke. You have to make it as obvious as possible that it's a joke.
Well, with the Russia hacking everything,
well, that's why you use a country that's not capable of it, like Canada.
Yeah, there is that. I mean, Canada has a warship, and I'm not even sure they know how to use it.
They just have a hockey on it. But there actually are real problems in the world. Like, apparently over in Dallas, they are just getting false 911 calls that just flood the system to no end. And the cause seems to be somewhere within T-Mobile's network. It's a interesting problem. One I thought would never, ever exist.
One that shouldn't exist.
It definitely shouldn't. And one of the real problems is that the call is then made, it then goes into the dispatch system. Dispatch then responds, the call then disconnects.
Mm-hmm.
By Dallas's state law. And so far, we've only heard that this happens in Dallas. This could be happening in other states, but we'll get to why we know it's happening in Dallas in a second. By Dallas law, they have to call back on a disconnect to make sure that everything is okay.
That makes sense.
They call back, they get nothing, and it's getting to the point where one of the articles I was reading, it was close to 70% of the calls received were these ghost calls. Now, the reason we know that this occurred within Dallas is that a baby was suffering from a respiratory ailment. The child stopped breathing. They tried calling 911 4 times and weren't able to get through because of the backups this problem caused.
Yeah, it actually lists, just days before Alex's death, a local man named Brian Cross died after it took 20 minutes for his husband, David Taffet, to reach 911. Taffet called 911 and was disconnected. He called back and was put on hold. Dallas Morning News reported. Paramedics arrived quickly after Taffet finally reached a 911 dispatcher, and Cross was taken to the hospital but died within an hour. So, this child isn't the only one. There may be others that have also perished due to a holdup in the 911 system.
And who knows if this is only in Dallas or if it's happening other places too.
Yeah.
If
it is, it's frightening.
It is. The thing is, though, I don't know what's causing it. If it is, right now suspicions are just something within the T-Mobile network. If it's a rogue server within T-Mobile that's glitching out and making these calls, or if it's a piece of malware showing up on smartphones, dialing 911 at random. Unfortunately, articles are not saying if it's all coming from a single source or if it's coming from random smartphones within the T-Mobile network. We don't know that yet.
Mm-hmm. We're going to have to watch this one for a post-mortem on this, as if this is a malware infecting phones that are causing them to dial 911, then
that's a problem.
That's a big problem in every city, every municipality that has a 911 service, or I should say an E911 service, will be affected.
Yeah. Like I said, like you said, this is definitely going to be one where we have to monitor down the road, especially if this turns out that some of these ghost calls are coming from other networks as well. That starts pointing more towards some form of malware. Mm-hmm. Which then means that it's not just T-Mobile phones, it could be any phone. In fact, it could even be outside of the US. You could start having phones in the UK start dialing 211 or whatever the heck the number is there. I think it's 211 in the UK. Yeah. My knowledge is honestly a little fuzzy on there because I can't imagine a scenario where I have to call 911 in the UK, which would be 211.
Although actually, I think I was reading that in various European countries, if you do dial 911, it still connects to their emergency services.
Oh, that's interesting. And actually, A.O. Shaw in our chat, our local foreigner, which is the biggest oxymoron I think I've ever said in forever. It's 999 in the UK. I'm not sure where it's even easier to remember.
Yeah. You could also remember it as no, no, no. Just in German.
Boo. Alright, well, since we're already on some pretty hard stuff, let's get to even harder stuff. Such as, for the first time, I think, since the Russians hacked the things meme opened up, there are actually Russian hackers connected with a Russian hack. And are finally arrested. It's actually real, guys. It's no longer some stupid animated GIF you found on Imgur or posted through Facebook. Don't go on Facebook.
Facebook's awful.
It is. So, we have... Now, everyone's been saying 4 Russian hackers. One of them is oddly enough, for all of the crud I give Canada for being irrelevant, one of them actually is Canadian.
Yeah.
Three of them are Russian. 2 of them are in fact associated with the FSB, which in some circles is considered the modern KGB, but I'm assuming 100 times tamer, seeing as how the KGB was pretty harsh. Though, of course, what do I know? I'm an idiot in Wisconsin.
Yeah, and we're also talking about Russia here. The FSB may be the facelifted, more cheerful version, but they're still the KGB underneath.
I'm now imagining, like the KGB agents with those, those long coats, those tall black boots, with just, a paper smiley face, taped over their faces.
That'd be probably about accurate, too.
So now this charge, if anyone's trying to pin down on whose Justice Department is actually responsible for this one, because these charges were starting to be investigated over 2 years ago, this actually would go to the previous administration first on their scorecard. If anyone actually cares about that. I really don't. Because when push comes to shove, I just want to see twits like these guys here behind bars and actually punished for their crimes. Especially when you talk about how many millions of 500 million accounts these guys hacked in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
So, there you have it. One Russian hack was actually real. And not just claimed to be from them, and it was actually from Nigeria or something.
Now, I can make a political joke on this.
Let's not and say we did, and then move on.
Okay. I can do that.
If there's anything I've learned, both in Twitch streaming and podcasting, unless you are a political podcast, politics is poison.
Yeah,
because you are guaranteed, no matter which side of the argument you take, you are going to tick off half the people.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on.
So now that we're done talking about how terrible politics are, let's talk about the political fallout of shooting down a $200 drone with a $3 million Patriot missile.
Just a tad overkill.
A little?
Mm-hmm.
First off, really, $3 million?
Here's the thing about about government and military contracts.
It can't actually be that much, is it?
It's padded. They are padded all to hell.
So, I guess for starters, let's just make our first and hopefully only political statement. Audit that. Second, who's the one who authorized a frickin' surface-to-air missile system to shoot down a pedestrian drone?
Yeah.
How did this happen? I mean, it's funny, but it actually happened.
As Perkins notes, using Perkins is General David Perkins, commander of the U.S. Army Training and Doctrine Command, TRADOC. As Perkins notes, using a 3.4 million missile to destroy a civilian drone is enormous overkill.
I mean, everyone knows you can do the same thing with a redneck in the back of a pickup truck with a shotgun.
Unjust Banana pointed out in chat, France uses Falcons to kill drones. Are Eagle Falcons next?
Yeah, you're not getting me out of this chair. That's not happening.
But yeah, France does use Falcons to target drones. A few other places use other birds of prey trained to take out drones.
No matter how you look at it, I cannot think... Besides going to comical nuclear warfare, I can't think of a single way you could destroy this drone less efficiently.
Bad puns. Yeah, bad puns could do it.
Oh, my Lord. So, there you have it. So, the next time someone tries telling you this joke that a $200 drone was shot down with a $3 million surface-to-air missile, just know... it's not a joke. It is a thing that actually happened.
Yep.
I do love that the CNET article I listened to while doing a lot of the other prep, their final General David Perkins' final comment in the I don't know what you'd call it, the press briefing, I guess would be the proper term for what happened and why this happened, said that the most logical sense would be down the road would be to use some form of electronic interference to get it down. To which I'd say, that or throw rocks at it.
Mm-hmm. Surprisingly enough, I'll have to see if I can dig up the source.
There's snow on the ground. You could have probably threw a snowball at it and it would have gone down.
Yeah.
There's snow on the ground. I mean, I'm assuming this picture in this Verge article, it is the actual surface-to-air missile system that was used. There's snow on the ground. So maybe. Or, as Unjust Man has been saying in the chat a couple times, just headbutting the drone with another drone would have also worked.
Mm-hmm.
Heck, I'm pretty sure using an actual military drone, which I know are pretty expensive, just having that take its nose and just boop the other drone would have probably knocked it out of the sky.
Yeah. Actually, what I just looked up, just to verify that it actually did happen, that it wasn't just clickbait, but Japanese have been using larger drones, larger quadcopter type drones, with a net hanging off the underside.
I will only accept this as fact if the other drones were shaped like Gundams.
No.
But in any case, I believe we're on comical overkill enough, but let's never forget this. That $200 drone was absolutely obliterated with a $3 million Patriot missile.
I wonder if they found any parts of that $200 drone.
Probably not. I mean, between the explosion of the missile itself, which is built to take out, bombers.
Planes.
And the explosion of the lithium polymer battery on the drone itself, which I guarantee you also exploded.
Yep.
Considering the fact that sunlight causes it to explode, therefore a missile would definitely do it. Yeah. There's nothing survived with that drone. It is ash.
Yeah, you could probably find the missile parts that took it down.
Good, let's resalvage it and get back some of our $3.4 million costs that were wasted to obliterate this.
No, that's great.
All right, now that we got this, now that we got the harder hitting stuff out of the way, let's talk about Ryzen.
All right.
Oh, Ryzen. So we are now 2 weeks after the launch of Ryzen, and we have confirmed a few things. AMD acknowledges that, all right, you got us. We're not as good as Intel. AMD, we knew that.
Yeah, that was no surprise from just last week looking at the PCPer benchmarks.
Yeah. Though, looking at a lot of other benchmarks, it actually is kind of fascinating that these Ryzen parts, although they're now they're now closed the gap a lot more than their previous processors. Don't get me wrong, despite how much we're going to rip on Ryzen is still viable in some manner. It actually is comical as to Ryzen might actually, down the road, find its home in workstations.
Interesting.
It's actually much better at rendering than the Intel parts. Now,
yeah, I noticed that.
Now, a few problems with that. One, I don't know how well Ryzen will scale with multiple CPUs on one board. It could be that instead of the usual 90% performance increase you see by doubling up on the CPU you usually see from the Xeons, if by going to Ryzen Opterons you only see a 50% increase, or some sort of dramatic, unexplained performance loss. That's yet to be seen. But
yeah.
just going like, say, Core i7 1151 versus top-tier Ryzen. Top-tier Ryzen is still the much better workstation chip. Gaming, however, is another story.
Now, if you could find someone crazy enough to put a Ryzen chip alongside an Intel chip...
That's not how chipsets work.
I know.
A for effort. But no, that's not how that works. Though, talk to Asus if there's anyone that I've seen that is foolish enough to try and make anything work, it's Asus.
Yep.
I do remember seeing back in the day they made a motherboard. I have no idea how well it worked. And for all I know, it could have been a Photoshop that someone used to fool me. But at the same time, I don't doubt Asus did this. But they had an old Athlon 64 socket next to a Pentium 4 socket on the same board.
Well then.
And first off, that terrifies me.
You're no kidding.
I'm afraid that if I use that, it would explode. For starters. But the point is that I once again want to point out, although it seems like once again, I am rubbing it in as many people's faces as I can, that I was right and we were right. And frickin' every single tech tuber out there, that the moment they got a hold of AMD's benchmarks, scrambled over their mics and said, it's relevant, they're up here, oh! And anyone with a brain, like at least us two here, still looking at it and go, now calm yourself, man, and let's actually see how it turned out.
Yeah.
And once again, we were right.
Patience is indeed a virtue.
It is. And this should have been a dead giveaway just for the fact that they had out the benchmarks and then right away did pre-orders.
Yeah, pre-ordering
If there's here's how things work in the actual computer parts market. They go on sale right away, but only make 10 parts. So that they sell out right away, and then they're on back order forever. Yep. That is how the Intel Core i7s work. That's how every NVIDIA graphic card known to man has worked since, I want to say, the 1600s. That's how it seemed every single AMD part worked, despite the fact there was almost no demand. That's how everything has worked, except for motherboards. Because there's too many of them.
Yeah.
But again, despite all that, we are going to see the Ryzen parts kind of settle into their various price points, and you're going to find areas where AMD might, in fact, and probably will be, the better performance per dollar section. Which, let's be honest, that's what AMD has done best for the longest time. Until, the last 2 years.
Yeah. Going into a market that Intel had no intention on going into.
Yep. But I mean, when the AMD parts were getting worse performance per dollar than Intel's Celeron parts, I mean, it was really bad. A lot of people going for FX parts, and it's just like, but this Pentium part beats it. And is cheaper. Now, we do have some good news. Because right now, there's the Ryzen 7 series, which is all the... Those are the ones that AMD kept saying was going to compete with Intel's top tier, the enthusiast level parts. That's great and all, but let's be honest. Cost of entry of $300. That's pretty high. Fortunately, there is going to be a Ryzen 5. And the moment I found out that there was going to be a Ryzen 5 series, I have figured out how AMD is doing their numbering scheme.
Okay.
Their top tier was the Ryzen 7 to compete with the Core i7s.
Oh,
Ryzen 5.
Ryzen 5 to compete with the i5s.
Here's a spoiler for you. The next series is going to be the Ryzen 3s to compete with the Core i3s. You know what I really hate about this? I could have called this. This seems so obvious now that it's out that this would have happened. Especially since the AMD graphic cards are doing everything in their power to copy the numbering scheme of NVIDIA.
Actually, I hadn't noticed that, but now that you point it out, yeah, it does make sense that AMD's been doing that.
Yeah. That's why they switched from the 9970s to just going, yeah, here's the new 260, and the new 270, and the new 280, and the 290. Oh, and NVIDIA has the Titan GPU. We're gonna make the Fury, and have it be irrelevant, just like the Titan.
Yeah.
So, let's actually talk about the Ryzen 5s. So, at the top end, you have the 1600X. That's going to be a $250 GPU, or CPU, I'm sorry. 6 cores, 3.6 gigahertz, 12 threads. That's going to pretty much compete with the top tier i5, which is 4 cores, 4 threads, at about the same clock speed. Let's go down 1600, 6 cores, 12 threads, 3.2, 3.6 for 220, 1500X, 4 cores, 8 threads, 3.5, 3.7 for 190, and then bottom tier is 1400, 4 cores, 8 threads, 3.2, 3.4. So, huzzah, Ryzen is actually going to compete with the mainstream, as opposed to just the crazy people building all them super rigs. Where do you sit on this, Regret?
It looks pretty straightforward, and what I'm laughing at more, having more amusement, is if you scroll down the article, you can see the stock coolers processors ship with.
Yeah.
They look like Intel stock coolers.
They do. But do you know what I love about them even more?
Yeah?
There's no clips.
Huh.
The clips are gone. They're using screws. Huzzah, alleluia. One of the worst things about AMD to ever blight the planet is gone. Those stupid retention clips that all they did was break my fingers trying to put on there and made me think I was going to snap the entire board, latching this stupid thing that barely fit, is gone. We are in the modern age of using screws.
Yep. Yeah, I just can't get over how much, I bet I could take a stock Intel cooler and bolt it over a Ryzen chip and it would probably fit.
I'm willing to bet the screws probably don't match entirely, but at the same time, you look at the Wraith Stealth and the Wraith Spire, which are the names they're giving to their stock coolers. Which, first off, that's adorable. You're naming a stock cooler.
Yeah, why?
I named a stock wrench Billy. Actually, it's pretty decent. It's a Craftsman. But anyway. It's not only that, but they look exactly like the stock ones. The only difference is that the Spire is twice as tall, which Intel would never do. I mean, Intel basically now just even ships the i7s, which barely are able to cool the i7s. with their low-profile one.
Yeah, no, somewhere around I have still floating a stock Intel cooler, and it's just adorable how small this cooler is.
Oh, I'm sure I have a few stock coolers in my several boxes of computer scrap that I need to get rid of. In addition to, God, everything else that's in there. But in any case, the other thing I want to take a look at real quick is this guy right here. Because I think there's actually a chance that this might use a different socket. And actually, if it does, this chart doesn't say. Oh, wait, no. It says it's the same socket. Never mind. I thought I had something and I didn't. Though it actually does kind of raise a interesting question. Although, yeah, at the very bottom, it even says Ryzen 3 is planned for the second half of the year. So, sometime between July and December, Ryzen 3 will come out just in time for people not to care.
Yep.
Although at that point, they will then be used in my next attempt to build the PC equivalent of a PS4 Pro.
And we'll also both get to laugh at Ryzen 3.
We'll see. Who knows? Maybe it'll just be like, oh, by the way, it turns out the Zen architecture is vastly superior when you downscale it.
Yeah. There have been freaks like that.
Anything is possible. It's unlikely, but it's possible. But in any case, down the road we'll see what the various PC makers do with Ryzen. But in the meantime, I want to talk for a moment about Dell. The gold standard of mediocrity.
I thought it was HP.
HP is the gold standard of what are you doing?
Yeah. And then I guess they trade off the medals every once in a while, because
No,
I've had...
Dell, for me, has always been the gold standard in mediocrity. Dell has always done everything in its power to be as average as possible. They never do anything exceptionally well, and they never do anything exceptionally terrible. There's always that fluke where something was designed just mind-blowingly well, and other moments where Dell was just asleep at the wheel. But Dell, by and large, is usually painfully average. Well, if you've been on YouTube recently, one thing that's been coming up in your ad rotation, if you are a super nerd like me, has been them trying to pimp up what they call dell-gaming.
Yeah, I'm currently looking at the Inspiron, looking at the page you have open, the Inspiron 15 Gaming, which is a very, very generic name for a gaming laptop.
Yes. This isn't the one I'm gonna make fun of. This is what they made last year.
Okay,
and
yeah, explains why the prices are pretty low.
This particular laptop had a very interesting evolution for those who don't know. And let me explain it real quick. 2 years ago, Dell went and made a black 15-inch Inspiron. And they just call it the Inspiron 15. And it was just like, yeah, okay, we made this, we put it out there. It's got a Core i5, we could put a low-end Core i7 in there, and we just put a GTX 750 in there. No big deal. Then people made the discovery. Dell just put out a $700 gaming laptop that can actually game. And that's all. And then Dell realized what everyone else realized. We're like, holy crap, we accidentally a gaming laptop. And
I'm going to say that was Dell asleep at the wheel, that they accidentally did a gaming laptop and didn't realize it.
Then the Inspiron 15 Gaming was born, actually pushing out to be a budget gaming laptop. And that's what you have here. Core i5s, Core i7 quad cores, 8 gigs of RAM, sitting around with, what do these guys have? I believe they have a GTX 960M, which is still really nice. And, that starts at $780. Which, again, that's not bad for a gaming laptop. You usually do pay quite a premium to have that sort of power inside a mobile form factor.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yes.
with this, now comes the next generation. And what we have here is the new Inspiron 15 7000 Gaming. A complete redesign of the 15 Gaming with a completely different look. Now, first thing I want to point out is the fact that this thing actually does have some CES awards from not the CES Commission. My first point I want to point out on this. Every one of you tech idiots out there, where were you when this thing was on the show floor? So many of these idiots gave their best laptop of show to that Dell 12-incher. That was just, it was this. It was this laptop, basically, except new. It was just, look, it's a 12-incher. It does this. It's a laptop. It's painfully average. That's what they gave an award to. Because it was a laptop. Yes, I'm still annoyed by that. I am still so annoyed by every single one of those tech outlets for giving that award to the XPS 12. Because they could have given it to this, which actually is interesting. A cheap budget, but still exceptionally powerful gaming laptop that is portable. Well, first say what you were going to say, and then I'll make my next comment here, just on the design of this thing.
Now, the thing is that the prior generation actually looked very nice, and you could actually break this thing out, and it won't look riced out. It's conservative, and actually, I kind of like that. The very simple. Like, the only difference that you could tell that it's not a standard Dell laptop was that the prior generation just simply had a red Dell emblem.
Yeah.
This new generation has, even the black still has red trimming.
Yeah.
In the vents, things like that. It's like, no.
Yeah, they gave up on it being a subtle laptop with performance. And actually, what the design reminds you a lot of is their old Dell Precision line.
Okay.
The rounded edges, the coating, the metal coating around the laptop itself, and then the flat edges on the front and the back. If those flat edges were on the sides instead, it would be exactly like the M4400, the M6400, the M6500, M6600, and M6700.
Okay, if I remember correctly, you're referring to the Pentium 4.
No, I'm referring to the late Core 2 series, and then going into first, second, and third generation Core i series.
Okay.
And possibly even going on even further than that. I don't remember when the Dell Precision line switched exactly to their very, very boring style, but whoever the heck they had before that was actually designing laptops, they clearly got rid of him and then just Like, I'm not even kidding. I'm holding in my hand right now a Dell Latitude E6230, if you want to look that up, for those of you listening to the audio version. And you look at it, it's one of the most boring looking laptops you've ever seen. It's very generic. To a degree. That's pretty much how the new Precisions look.
Yeah, I'd find that your little laptop issued out en masse by a company's IT department.
Yeah. But even like the placement of the exhaust fins and whatnot. And they clearly Dell here with this new gaming laptop. It's no longer about subtlety, as you said. You know, you've got the red backlit keyboard, even your heat sinks are now red. The casing is red. You can have it with black with the red thing. You're getting closer to it looking like a gaming laptop.
Yeah.
And I do have some other points I want to make on that, but I want to switch over to the next item in Dell's new Dell Gaming section. And that's the new XPS Tower Special Edition.
First off, a tower with a laptop disk drive. Please.
Believe it or not, that is the new fad.
I know, and I hate it.
Everyone is... I'm not going to criticize Dell for doing it, because instead I will criticize the entire industry for doing it. And I'll blame HP first, because they were the first to do it.
Yeah, at least Dell put the disk drive in a traditional location. I think HP put out a machine that the disk drive is straight in the middle of the tower, standing upright. It's like, how does this work? How are you going to expand it? Because that disk drive is going to be right in the way of any expansion card.
I actually want an excuse to show up to the old leasing company I used to deal with on a day when I know they have those in stock. They've been getting a few of those designs in stock, because I want to take a look inside and figure out, okay, HP.
What the hell? What are you doing?
What, why, and how? And then why again?
You need to take me to that leasing company.
I should have called you on Thursday. I actually had to go there and pick up a laptop for my boss because he torched his.
Good job.
But here's the thing: you got this thing, and it's a boring matte silver on the front. You have a laptop CD drive on the top, and then 4 USB ports. I'm going to assume that they're all USB 3.0s.
Mm-hmm.
You got a headphone and microphone jack, an SD card reader, and the power button. Then you have a little bit of space, and then the rest of the body happens. That's clearly where all the ventilation is.
Mm-hmm.
To which then, I hope you do not have a cat.
Yep.
Or a dog. Or dust. Or anything, really. I hope you are a robot. And do not generate dust. Because that thing is going to build up dust in this crevice. That's kind of one of the problems I have with these sort of designs on high-powered computers that need constant airflow. So then you look at the rest of the design. You see on the bottom, okay, there's 2 trays for the 2 hard drives. You have a squirrel cage over the processor that goes to an air blower that just shoots the exhaust air straight out the top of the case.
Yeah, that's I'm not a fan of blowing air out the top of cases. It's too easy to get something on top of the case and have it block the airflow.
It can be good though for the natural heat rising. It's actually a smarter way to do it, as long as you plan accordingly. Here's my problem I have with this computer. This computer has no business existing.
Okay.
Because in Dell's world, this computer already exists. It's the Alienware Aurora.
That's interesting, actually, then.
The only difference is that this machine opted for an air cooler instead of a water cooler.
So then why... That's... Yeah, that is odd. Because then why just make the Aurora with the option for the air-cooled as a lower version of the Aurora?
This actually then brings me to my next point. Why do any of these computers even exist? If your sole purpose, Dell, was to make computers, to make gaming computers that cost less, then why the heck didn't you just make Alienware computers that cost less?
Not wanting to tarnish the Alienware line with cheaper computers?
Oh, please, they already tarnished it. They already hurt the Alienware brand so much by killing computers like the Alienware Area 51 twice, and killing the Alienware 18-incher twice. And then even for the longest time, until roughly a week ago, not even offering the highest end GPUs in their Alienware computers. The brand is already dead, as far as the high market is concerned.
Unjust Banana just pointed out probably the actual answer. Branding. Because these are not Dell Alienware, they're XPS, which has always been their weird, high-powered, but not Alienware, but not... Yeah.
The thing is that the XPS brand lost meaning 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right when XPS was the brand that Dell used to compete against Alienware before they just straight up bought them. After that, then XPS just became this brand where it's like, you know what? Do you like watching movies? This is the brand to do it with.
Yeah. But I think Unjust Banana got it.
It can't be the branding, because they stopped caring about branding for so long, because the XPS has been everywhere. The XPS has been a gaming brand. It has been a entertainment brand. It's now going back to being a gaming brand, and it's also been a thin and light brand. In fact, it is currently a thin and light brand. And if the sole purpose of the Alienware brand is to be high-powered, then why does the Alienware Alpha exist?
Honestly, at this point, then it's just Dell being Dell.
Look here, Dell. If you want my advice, and this is free for you, by the way, here's some free advice for you. This whole thing you're doing right now, stop it. Just stop. Instead, just say, okay, we're going to make two Alienware lines. An X series, and give the other one any number before. Like a Z or something, I don't know. Have the Z be your low end thin and lights, and just say, look, it's to compete with the Razer line. The thin and light gaming capable ones. There, go ahead and throw in your Core i3s, Core i5s with a 1050. But still let it be that gamer-esque with all the LEDs. Lord knows, looking at the Inspiron 15, you don't care anymore about it looking subtle. And if you do, then what are you doing? And then just let your X line be the top tier that only the most elite and the most wealthy want. Your big, thick, chunky M18Xs that used to exist in your 17-inchers, and your pyramid head towers that's got, I mean, what that's got your dual 1080 Ti's and your and whatever. That'd be the way to go. Just say, look, here's the budget line for Alienware. This will get you gaming and rolling, and it's got our seal of quality on it. And then here's the enthusiast level. Because they're already doing that. I mean, in the desktop line alone, the Alpha is the entry level that I'm not even sure how popular those are, to be quite honest. They're cute and capable, and I'm not sure how many people are just like, yes, I need to have this little cube.
It looks like it would be kind of more of a set-top thing than it would be an actual found on a desk or near a desk.
Well, that was the whole thing. It was the Alpha was originally supposed to be their Steam box, except SteamOS was taking too long, so they launched it out with Windows on it. Alienware still does sell a Steam box, but the Steam box is just kind of petered out. Despite this wonderful controller that everyone wants. Nobody wants.
Yeah, no, I saw all the Steam trying to do the hardware stuff, and it's like, I have no intention on replacing my Xbox 360 controller. That feels good in my hands, it feels solid, it works natively with Windows, and therefore works with everything.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the controller's not too bad, but... yeah. But back to the point. Then you have the Aurora in the midline, and then the Area 51 at the top tier. Mm-hmm. They've already got a very similar sort of thing going on with the Alienware 13, 15, and 17. The 13 is their entry level. They even cut down the lights a metric ton, to the point where it's just on the keyboard and mouse, I think. And that's just sitting with a Core i7. They could tone that down to a Core i5 and tone the graphic card down to a 1050 to compete at the low end, and let the 15 be the middle tier and the 17 be the top tier. They could easily do that, but they still just insist on just going, nah, we want to have the Dell gaming. They're like trying to compete. They're like trying to pretend that they're competing with themselves, when only fools know they're not competing with themselves.
Actually, you know what else might explain this? It's an intercompany pissing match. Somebody up in Dell, somebody in you have two managers up higher up in Dell.
This is true.
One of them went, "Oh, we can't have gaming. We're a professional company," and the other manager went,
Let's be real honest. As far how Dell most likely is, just for the fact that of the way their various departments go, they have the professional team that's going to be sticking with the latitudes and the precisions. They've got the Inspiron team, which is probably the bulk of it, just going, all right, we want to appeal to the most. And then they have the Alienware team sitting in their basement trying to figure out, okay, how do I add more lights?
And you're probably right on that. Alienware team is probably in Dell's corporate basement somewhere going, we need more lights.
To be fair, that team probably volunteered to be in the basement. So that's going to conclude our little thing on Dell and Alienware. I still think they just go, okay, you know what? All the gaming stuff, just be under Alienware's name, and just let people go, oh my god, there's a cheap Alienware out there. Lord knows, anyone who actually cared about the power Alienware's name already held got really annoyed when they stopped making the 18-incher. Even though that thing was just comical at 20 pounds. But speaking of 20 pounds, I want to talk about our last laptop of the day, the Eurocom Sky X9 E3.
Oh, that thing.
I'm not gonna lie. I want it.
Yeah, so do I.
So, this massive impractical laptop, and this is impractical.
It totally is, but you don't get this as, oh, I'm going to have a gaming desktop and gaming laptop. You get this as I'm just getting a desktop replacement. That's everything.
Or you just want a desktop that's mobile.
Well, you could always just put a handle on a regular desktop.
But I can't take that to work. Not easily,
well, you shouldn't be taking this thing to work either.
I will so take this to work.
Actually, knowing you, yes.
I take my 18-incher to work. But anyway, I'm actually kind of surprised on a few things on this thing. So, first off, the motherboard supports 2 MXM slots, which are the mobile graphic card equivalent of a PCI Express slot. So there's 2 graphic cards you can throw in here, and they will be SLI or Crossfire compatible. It has a full-size desktop processor on it, handling up to a Core i7-7700K, up to 64 gigabytes of memory, up to 14 terabytes of storage, with a mix of 3 M2 PCI Express slots, and I'm trying to find... Oh, here we go. 2.5-inch bays for hard drive disks or solid-state drives. And amazingly enough, this laptop supposedly only weighs 12 pounds.
Where did they get all of the unicorn tears and dragon's blood to make that happen? Are they weighing the chassis without anything in it?
Do you want to know the answer?
Hmm.
I know exactly where they got this thing.
Okay.
And oddly enough, this actually goes back to Alienware in a certain way.
Oh, good. Dell did it.
No. Clevo did. Have you ever heard... I know you've heard of these companies. Have you ever heard of Falcon Northwest?
Yes, I have.
Have you ever heard of Main Gear?
No, I have not. Not Main Gear.
That's funny. Main Gear is actually more well known than Falcon Northwest. Have you ever heard of iBuyPower?
Yes, I have, and I kind of look at them and kind of go, ew.
So you know all of these guys, what they do is that for their desktops, they go to Newegg, they go to Tiger Direct, and they basically buy their parts in bulk and basically build their computers as you or I would. They do not have a foundry to custom build their parts, with some minor alterations. Like Falcon Northwest actually does have some form of a shop to do some customizations to their stuff, including doing custom paint jobs. That's actually what Falcon Northwest is most well known for, is using their car paint on cases. Clevo is a Chinese company that sells bare-bone laptops that are then sent out and then can be customized however the people who buy them choose. This is actually how Alienware started off, was buying Clevo laptops and then putting those strange ridges on the lids and their big old alien head on it. They did the same thing for their desktops and also their rack servers. Which every time you mention Alienware rack servers, you should giggle snort beforehand.
Oh,
for the fact that, oh my god, they made rack servers.
Alienware made a rack server. Why am I just finding out about this?
Why didn't you giggle snort before you said that?
This I have to look up.
It's called the Alienware Hive Mind. I think. I could be wrong on that. But back to this laptop. That's where this thing came from. The entire case is just plastic. This is not a very durable laptop. But if you feel you are careful with it, which I am not, this is quite a very interesting, upgradable laptop that easily has the power of the highest end gaming desktops without getting into extreme levels. So
Don't drop it.
If Regret the Van is done looking up the Alienware Hive Mind.
No, I actually found something worse.
Oh, what did you find?
Oh, it might be the same. Okay, it might be the same thing. Okay, yeah, it's a rack-mounted media server.
Yep.
And entertainment hub.
There it is. You found it.
Well, it's got Port City on the backside.
That it does. But that's going to end
still.
it for us today. Thank you everyone for watching. Please do subscribe here to this podcast. We'll be back next Saturday at 3 o'clock Central Time. You can find my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/eagle_falcon. Regret the Van, you can find him at twitch.tv/regret_the_van. Take care, everyone. Rest well. We'll see you next time. You can say goodbye now.